So today we have Clifton French from Real News Michiana joining us today. How you doing, Mr. Clifton?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, Corey. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How about you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do before we get started?
Yeah, I'm a Murrow and AP award-winning journalist um, who moved to Northern Indiana for services and education for my son with Down syndrome, and then started my own independent news outlet. Honestly, because I was sick of not being able to tell the truth, so I started my own thing, and here we are. I was working for ABC in Tampa, Florida, covering the FBI, ATF, Department of Homeland Security, SOCOM, CENTCOM. I was going to Gitmo, covering Gitmo. Um, and now you have the pleasure of having me rabble rousing up here in South Bend.
Good, man. I'm glad because I don't have to work as hard now.
I could always use a partner, brother.
Hey, man. You know what? We need to talk about that. I've been thinking. I've been thinking. I said, let me see. So yeah, we should talk about that, man, after we get done. So I know that you've been covering a lot on this LGBTQ stuff and how it's affecting our schools. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I didn't know that it was so bad in our area until I spoke with you about it.
Yeah, and before we even get started, like I don't even see it as an LGBTQ issue, right? Like I see this as a don't sexualize kids issue, you know? Like it's uh however, for some reason, um people within the LGBTQ community or their allies have decided to adopt this sexualization of kids, um which that community had worked very hard to get rid of, right? That stigma. And now it's like, I mean, they've adopted it full force. As we were talking earlier, it's everywhere. Every single school, every single community. I mean, this is in Cherubusco, right? This is this is in Whitley County. This is in my hometown, my small hometown of Lebanon, Indiana, and it's in South Bend, big time.
Yeah, I want to talk about that Lebanon thing. I see you did a really nice article on it, and I read it, man. And when I watched that video, it blew my mind. Let's put it up real quick.
Imagine this is you. You're an 11-year-old girl who's coming into school thinking that they're in a safe environment. You go to PE to get ready in the locker room, and you see a boy in there. The first time you saw them, you panicked. Do I change it from a boy? I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Do I take my shirt off? Do I take my pants off? He is so. Wait, sorry. He is doing so I think I should. I see him standing there in his underwear. That was the first time I saw a boy half naked.
Um, Now we move on to action items. Request approval of time clock and
So it's really odd to me to see this little girl pouring her heart out about being in the same locker room with a male, and her first time seeing it's her anyway, her first time seeing a male half naked, and she telling these people this as if they and they just seem to be heartless, man. It's like, and then when she finished, like, okay, yeah, okay, all right, and we can move on to the next topic. You know what I'm saying? What all information can you add to that from the inside?
Well, this was in this happened in January, um, and it's in Lebanon Community Schools in Lebanon, Indiana. It's a small, extremely conservative town. It's my hometown, actually. Right, it's outside of Indianapolis. Very conservative, um, and that town has gone. They're lost. I mean, the woke has taken over, right? And this little girl went to the school board meeting in January. All the news outlets in Indianapolis knew about this, by the way. All the news outlets in Indianapolis knew about it. The Lebanon newspaper knew about it, but that's run by this editor who supports this kind of thing. Um, and nobody covered it, right? I start my news outlet. I get a tip about this. Last week, and I was like, well, this should absolutely be coverage. Um, Covered it, and they just took it, like actually responded and took some pseudo action last night.
Let's be real here, right? I think that the reason why it's not being covered, because when you think of things like this, you typically think of the left leaners, right? uh, or even far left, but you don't want to see it as a conservative thing. But the sad part about it is this thing is not a left or right thing. You know what I'm saying? Now it's just like everywhere now.
Yeah, well, I will say that it's leftist ideology, but the conservatives and so what the left has done really really well, um, is intimidation tactics, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to intimidate you into not covering stories. I'm going to intimidate you into not, or into changing the narrative, right? And if you don't, I'm going to cancel you. I'm going to attack your business. I'm going to attack your family. I'm going to attack everything that you have, right? And I mean, and by the way, like it was really successful with the news. That's why I got out. I said, listen, you're not like I'm not scared of you. I'm going to tell the truth. Like that's my job. Um, and so that's what's happened there. I mean, people in that community were speaking up, and then they were viciously attacked, and they all shut down. They thought that this thing would get nothing. However, I do the story. It gets picked up nationally. It gets picked up by the Attorney General, Todd Rokita. He speaks out about it, and now they got to do something, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of people that's starting to stand up and speak out against this thing, because it just like boom, just started blowing up and everybody started buying into it. So I want to get back to this situation with this young girl, by the way, which is extremely brave. And I really admire the fact that she was able to go up there and be so articulate and speak to these people, because that's a bold move to have to look at adults. And no child should be put in that position. You know what I'm saying? And no parent should be put in a position to where he got to hear his daughter say that to him. Man, do you know how violated, disrespected? I mean, I just can't come up with enough words to express how I would feel if my daughter jumped in my car or came to the house and told me that, you know what I'm saying, after coming from school. And for the school board to just sit there and look at her like, and is is totally unacceptable, man. I don't understand why we are accepting this behavior from our schools when we pay our tax money to keep these things running.
So they have last night. They they had a school board meeting last night, and they tried to. The superintendent came out and said, "Okay, I'm going to address this issue." The attorney came out, "I'm going to address this issue." The superintendent. So I had already made a public records request for all of their policies regarding gender, the use of bathrooms, all of that. Lebanon Community Schools does not have any. They do not have policies. None. Zero. For any of the usage, right? Well, the superintendent gets up and he starts explaining, he starts telling all of these policies. He's like reading off of all of these policies. Parents were like, well, we want these policies. We want this kind of thing. The attorney said, yeah, why isn't that, like the attorney, who was being an idiot as well. But he looks over at the superintendent and goes, hey, yeah, we should make these public. And at that point, the superintendent goes, well, it's not in writing. Like, we don't, like it's just kind of, this is like a mental checklist. It's not like, no, then you don't have a policy, right? I mean, so they're just lying to you. They're lying to they think that the public is dumb enough to just listen to their lies, ignore reality right in front of them, and just take it. Academia, by the way, like the people who are teaching teachers to become teachers, have adopted this. So any teacher who is coming out of college, any teacher that's going through any continuing education on top of that, which they have to go through continuing education for their licenses, right? To maintain their licenses. They're being taught this. They're being taught this by their professors in school. They're being taught this by through their professional development. They're being taught this kind of thing, like, hey, listen, you have to do this. Well, folks need to stand up and say, no, we're not going to take this anymore.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how do you know more about how that story came about? How she ended up in the bathroom or the locker room with the boy?
Oh yeah. So I spoke to the mother And so this little girl is so she actually apparently took testimony from one of her friends at school and then pushed that out during that meeting. So her friend, so she was not in that class. All of this stuff came through her friends who are in that gym class. And so what she explained was, hey, this is what happened to these girls. This is what's going to, and this is what is potentially going to happen to many more girls. So essentially, 11-year-old girl walks into the locker room of Lebanon Middle School in Lebanon, Indiana, a town of like 15,000 people, super conservative, and goes there for gym class and sees a little boy who is a boy. I don't know. He's her age. A boy changing, and is like, what is going on here? So apparently, this little boy picks and chooses what bathrooms he feels like using, on what day, right? And what locker rooms he wants to use on what day. It's, hey, I'm feeling like a boy today. I'm gonna use this bathroom. I'm feeling like 10 minutes later, I'm feeling like a girl. I'm gonna use this locker room, right? And is going back and forth and doing. I mean, this is not somebody who is, from all I can tell, this is not somebody. Even I don't believe in the transgender ideology. I don't think that it's
Right.
real.
Right.
However, even saying, let's just for the sake of this argument say I do, and this person just wants to do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
They just want to do whatever they want, and who knows the reasoning behind it? It could be nefarious. It could just be because they just want to do whatever they want, right?
Right. And that's going to be the problem, man. Well, it's already the problem. We're already seeing it. I got to get out the habit of saying it's going to be because it's already existing.
In Virginia, a couple of years back, you had somebody who was doing this kind of thing who was like verified 2 kids, was allowed to do it, raped a kid, right? Then came back to school, raped another girl, right? Like has done it twice in one school district, right? So, the concerns are legitimate. Like, this is not some imaginary thing. And I'm not saying like every kid is going to do this kind of thing, but there is a reason that there is a separation between boys and girls that we've had for all of history. And we've had in the West forever up until 2 minutes ago.
And so now, so you was telling me that it's more schools in Indiana doing this. Man, listen.
Every school in Indiana is doing this, Corey.
Oh man.
Now, they may not have had a student who's come up with this, right? However, every school in Indiana is following this directive. Martinsville tried not to, right? Martinsville was sued. Martinsville got sued. And so the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, right, liberal judge, leftist judge, said, no, like, we're going to, now, hopefully the Supreme Court takes it up. But at this point, like, in Indiana, you have to, or else you're going to be sued. Now, you can ignore the law, right? You can ignore it, which I think that they should. I think that they should, that people should take, that these school boards should go, no, we're not going to do it. Go ahead and sue us. We're going to do the right thing, and we're going to protect these children.
So when you say they have to, I want to be clear on that. They have to do what in particular?
They have to let these little boys who claim they're girls. They have to legally.
Oh man.
They have to. So they can. So here's the thing, though. Legally, they have to, according to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals right now, according to their ruling right now. That being said, create a policy and say no, and then just don't allow it, and then get sued. Get sued. Stand up. You have to. There has to be a hill that you're going to die on, right?
So let's go super local here. So knowing that, because look again, see, I didn't know that. Knowing that, what is the mayor of South Bend doing about that, if anything?
The mayor? Well, I mean, the mayor in South Bend doesn't really deal with schools, right?
Right.
So the mayor doesn't deal with schools and all. However, I think that it goes beyond that, and it goes into a cultural issue, right? It goes into pop culture, it goes into all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so our previous mayor is the one who opened the LGBTQ Center in downtown South Bend. The LGBTQ Center, by the way, which hosts multiple drag shows for kids every single year. I have a story that I wrote a couple of years ago about a drag show for a Girl Scout troop. They had Girl Scouts at the LGBTQ Center, which was opened by Mayor Pete Buttigieg, right? They had a drag show for them where the Girl Scouts were tipping grown men in women's lingerie and underwear with Girl Scout cookies, tipping them like they're sitting perv row at the freaking strip club, dude. Like, it's disgusting. So that happened. Mayor Mueller is he was picked by hand-picked, hand-selected by Buttigieg to be his successor. I think that Mayor Mueller is a lot better than Pete, but he ain't doing anything to address this. I mean, there could be ordinances, there could be laws put into place.
Mm-hmm.
That would come from your city council. That would come from maybe some executive action, some ordinances that would be put together by them. But when it comes to schools, they have no say.
And so is the city council taking any action or speaking up about this?
They're supporting it. I mean, I believe there was an ordinance by Lori Hammond supporting it. So your city councils, I mean, the only people, I think you had two city council people who would have not been okay with this, and would have been vocal about it. That would have been Henry Davis and Eli Wax, and both of them are gone now.
Right. Wow. Well, that's one thing about Henry. When he stand on something, he will stand on it. Whether he right or wrong, he gonna stand on what he stands. I got to give him that. I
have massive amounts of respect for Henry Davis. Massive amounts of respect for Henry Davis. And he and I disagree on a lot. Once again, it's that cancel cult. Like, if you stand up against something that, for whatever reason, the powerful or the narrative that's being established, if you stand up against that, you're going to be attacked. And that's what they did with Henry. They attacked him as crazy. They attacked him as all kinds of things. And he ain't crazy. He's passionate, but he's not a crazy person.
He passionate enough to be labeled crazy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And that's all right. But now, so the council members now, I think that somehow, some way, we need to keep exposing this and get this out there, because at the end of the day, I don't think that a lot of people actually know that it's going on to this extent. And once people find out, maybe people will start standing up and putting the pressure on their councilmen to do something about it, because we got to put a stop to this. If we just keep watching it happen, look, it's the same thing I tell people all the time. You keep feeding that dog, the dog on the chain barking at you. You keep feeding it. Eventually, he's gonna get strong enough to break the chain and bite you, and then it's over with. So as long as we sit back and don't do nothing, that's the same thing as feeding a dog that's gonna break the chain and bite us. So, and I don't know if the chain is already broken or not, but
you even have the thing is, you have educators who are also involved in this, right? So at PHM, I'm gonna pull up this story real quick. There's an elementary school, North Point Elementary School, at in PHM, where you have a special education teacher who does drag. He moonlights as drag on the weekends and on his time off, right? He does this as a giant sexualized Polly Pocket doll. He dresses up as I don't know if you know what Polly Pocket is. It is a very popular children's toy, mainly for girls, right? And he dresses up as a Polly Pocket doll. He calls himself Polly Pocket. He dances on stage in South Bend at drag shows across South Bend and mimics sexual acts. He'll pretend like he's giving blowjobs, pretend like he's doing other things. Then during the day, he is teaching nonverbal disabled children.
Oh, God.
Kids who like in his position, by the way, he has to take these kids to the bathroom. Like, these kids cannot, like, not saying he's doing anything. However, if you have a man dressing up as a woman dash children's toy and doing sexual acts, it is not a far fetch, thought to say, okay, maybe he's trying to relate with kids and saying, hey, I really like Polly Pocket. Do you like Polly Pocket? Hey, guess what? I'm Polly Pocket. You can play with me, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's disgusting. He shouldn't be doing what he's doing, but he was let go, or not let go. He was put on administrative leave after I reported on this story initially, and then within days he was back in the classroom.
Wow. Man, we gotta do more of these shows, man, and put this stuff out there and get more people involved. Because on the real, man, it's like you do a really good job investigating these things and getting it on paper. And we just need to get a bigger reach too. I mean, I know you got a lot of people watching what you're doing, a lot of people tuned in to you, and that's a good thing. But we need to get even a much bigger reach so that we can bring it out to more people, because we got to come together and put a stop to this. And it all starts locally. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing that I said I got to start kind of getting more involved is locally, because I can kind of went nationwide, but I want to bring it down a little bit too, so that we can focus on the things that are directly around us. So that's why I really appreciate what you do, and we got to get together and do this again, man, and possibly put some more things together to try to reach more people and get something done about this stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate you all tuning in, and I can guarantee that we'll be back doing more shows on this and getting more coverage. He do a really good job, so make sure you go to his website and subscribe to his channel. How do they find you again, Trent?
Yeah, realnewsmichiana.com is the website. It's going to be the same on Facebook. I don't really use Instagram too much. However, Twitter is Cliff French TV. I've had that Twitter account forever from when I was during my TV days.
Oh, you know what? I meant to ask you about this before we go. I know that you get a lot of threats because you and plus I think it's mainly too because you might be more local. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Any journalist who is doing their job gets threats. In Tampa, when I was working in Tampa, I was getting some serious threats that had to have law enforcement and federal agent intervention. I've had the same thing here in South Bend. But a lot of it is just, it is Antifa. It is the people, a lot of men who dress like women threatening me, right. And the threats against me are okay. I don't really mind. Threats against my family are kind of, right. That's where the line gets drawn. And, I will tell everybody, I think you and I had this conversation before, that if you're feeling froggy, jump, because I can handle it.
I don't do tough. I don't receive that, but I don't want people to get that confused. That don't mess around, because I don't want to mess around. We're gonna handle it and try to handle it the quickest way possible. But I see you got a you was in a war, right?
Yeah. So and that's, you were saying you don't do tough. I do tough.
Yeah.
So I do tough, and I tell folks, I'm very open about my military record because of it, right?
Right.
And I showed you this before. So this is the barrel of my machine gun when I was in Iraq. That's a bad guy's bullet that went off the tip of it. They cut it off, gave it to me. I got a Medal of Valor that day too. Under attack by ISIS fighters, Al Qaeda, ISIS, the same group, Daesh. They call them Daesh. And everybody was pinned down. I stood up. I took all of them out by myself. I have trained a foreign police force and military on weapons. I was a wrestler for 15, 16 years. I trained Muay Thai for a long time. I welcome it. Like, if you are feeling froggy, jump. Just know what's going to happen. It's going to be quick. It's going to be dirty. I'm going to go to Jets and get a deep dish pizza, and I'm not going to think about it again. So feel free. It's it's really that simple. And you know, I think that's also what makes me willing to do what I do, is that I've stared terrorists in the eyes, one every single time, and some guy in a miniskirt is not going to scare me.
Oh, that's gonna make them come out. There it is. They
Yeah.
coming now. All right, so hey, we really appreciate you coming in, man, and thanks for listening, everybody. And do yourself a favor and wake up before you go to sleep. Peace. We out of here.